INCRadio, DZEM 954, ang tinig ng katotohanan, himpilan ng Iglesia ni Cristo, sumasahimpapawid mula sa Quezon City.
And no, if you're looking at your clock, you did not make a mistake. We are on earlier today. This is our inaugural show in our new time slot, which is 9:30 a.m. here on the East Coast of the United States, 8:30 a.m. there in the Central Time Zone for our studio that's there. So we're going to be talking to Brother Jim here and ask him how did it feel getting up that much earlier this morning. But we want to welcome everyone here to the show. And of course, right now it is about 9:39 here on the East Coast of the United States. And we're so grateful that you were able to join us. Let's toss it to Brother Jim and see how are things there in Pensacola this morning, Brother Jim.
Good morning, Brother Robert. Things are great over here. It's one of those kind of overcast days in the Panhandle and Pensacola, but it's perfect. So I just planted a few things, and you want to ask me, I'm an old farm boy. So waking up early is just in my blood. So I love this new time slot. And I love the opportunity to welcome hopefully a bunch of new viewers and listeners to our show. Buenos dias, buenas tardes, maganda gabe, guten Tagen, right? Yeah,
for our German friends, we do have German viewers. I know we do.
That's right. Good morning to you all. And like I said, I hope we're able to make the show. It's so great that we have this new time slot because I know there's some family that we're going to be able, they won't have to stay up so late. Yeah, I'm talking to you, cousin Casey over there. So you can get to bed at a time you should. But thank you all so much for joining us today. We have a great show. And I tell you what, brother, I'm ready to dive in. What's our topic for today?
Well, this morning we are going to be talking about a topic that is, I think, something that's really relatable to so many people. And that is because of the way shopping is done today, we have to be more informed in how it is that we do our shopping, right? So today's show is focused on how to make you a better buyer. And we're going to be talking about some strategies, different things that you can do to help you in your purchase decisions. So this way, one, you're not going over your budget and you're getting what it is you actually need, but actually more importantly, that you're not getting cheated when it comes to buying what it is that you really are looking to buy. So many people, we work so hard for the money that we're making now. We want to make sure that we're able to make purchases that are actually of great value to us and, of course, to those that we're buying it for. So let's hop right into our topic this morning. Of course, our topic is called How to Be a Better Buyer. So, and we're going to be talking to all of our hosts here today to share their experiences, strategies, things that they do that actually help them to make better purchasing decisions. And one of the first things that we wanted to talk about, of course, is understanding your needs. This is such an important part about making your purchase decisions because we have to learn how to separate what it is that we need versus what it is that we want. And, there's sometimes that gray area, Brother Jim, Sister Joy, Sister Audrey, right? Between thinking that we want what we need, but it's actually more a want than it is a need. So trying to make that separation is an important part of that whole process. And I think one of the things that the most important decision is, of course, to avoid impulse buying. Impulse buying is so easily done nowadays because everything is just one click away, right? I mean, for those of us that are actually avid online shoppers, how has that changed your sort of strategy or your approach when you're shopping, Brother Jim?
Yeah. Well, the impulse buying, I am definitely a victim of that because I think, these online sites are so clever. You'll purchase something, then, they're happy to offer all kinds of suggestions below. And you think, whether I'm like maybe buying fishing equipment or camping equipment or something like that. And you see, well, I purposely went online to buy this. But hey, I could probably use that and that and that and that, and the next thing you know, your shopping cart gets pretty bloated. So I think that it's just understanding there's an algorithm behind that. They want you to buy as much as possible, and if you don't have a plan going in, you can have spend a lot of money fast.
Yeah, Sister Audrey, what's your one of your bigger challenges to help combat impulse buying?
It I either got to be all in or all out. So out of sight, out of mind usually works, but with the way that the algorithm is now, where we're surfing online and you're on like your social media platforms and you're trying to be productive and do something else, then all of a sudden there's an ad, and it's for the thing you were just looking at that you wanted to put away, not think about, and fall into that temptation. Oh, but it's there and it's so easy to get. You just shop now. So it's just that it's there, and my interwebs know what I want. It's very tempting.
Sister Joy, have you ever had an experience where you just were what you thought very nonchalantly talking about a product or something, and then it just seemed to pop up out of nowhere as you were either browsing the internet or going through social media?
I feel like that happens more frequently to me than ever. It's like, I think my phone is always listening,
Yeah.
and I'm like, wow, I feel like, who did I discuss this with? Did I discuss this with someone? Did I say this out loud? Because it's like my phone knows. It doesn't matter which platform you're going on to. It's like it's being advertised like buy me now. And like you said, how do we avoid those impulse buying? It just really comes down to, okay, and if you're married, you want to definitely discuss it with your spouse. Okay, is this really something that we need? Brother Billy hears it from me all the time. I'm like, do I really need this? Do I really need this? Because I'm just one of those buyers. I go back and forth. I'm like, do I really need this? Do I really want this? So I really have for me personally, I have to really talk it out with Brother Billy and say, okay, I'm conflicted. I'm one of those that has the buyer's remorse. I'm like, oh, did I need this?
So how do you
Am I one of
avoid
those?
impulse buying, Brother Jim? What's your strategy for like how do you like sidestep making that one click purchase on something that you think that you need?
Well, I think for me, it truly is just trying to keep from diving in and realizing, you can search so many different sites, do comparison, and then, kind of put the phone away, step away from the desktop. And I don't know how many times I've gone back and said, well, I'll actually pull the trigger and buy this tomorrow morning. And tomorrow morning comes and I'm like, what was I thinking? Do I really need that? And I think that's probably the biggest thing. And of course, because, and I'm sure we're going to get into it some more, but just comments and things like that from other buyers, where you're so dead set on a particular product and you realize maybe this isn't the right product or the right manufacturer or whatever.
Right. Well, and I think that's a great point that you make, though. One of the greatest ways to avoid impulse buying, I think, is to do exactly the opposite of impulse buying, and that's waiting. It's
Yeah.
actually taking a pause and taking a moment. Your example is great. You could be scrolling through social media at 11 o'clock at night and thinking, "Oh, this looks like a really good deal," or you don't even know if it's a really good deal because you haven't done any research. And then next thing you know, you're clicking on it and then it's on its way. It's because they'll ship those things so quickly, and next thing you know, it's arriving at your doorstep and you're wondering, why did I buy this for again? So you want to be sure that you do take the time, and I think that's a great example. Unless it's something you absolutely have to have in the morning for something, if it's something you're using for church or something you need for work or something. But if it's just something that you think is a nice thing to have, then it can wait till tomorrow. And then while you sleep, you'll be able to probably have a clearer mind when you're purchasing. So this is a great tip. Sleep on your purchases, making sure that you're giving yourself time to not let those algorithms drive how it is that you shop. Because just as Sister Joy mentioned, our devices, they capture all of the input, and that input is whether we're speaking, whether we're typing, whether you're searching on Google. all of this data is being compiled and these algorithms are developed to be able to tailor ads specifically to things that they think you need. So that's why every time I walk by Sister Lulu's phone, I whisper into her phone about all the new bike components that I need. So this way they just start going through and filtering, as she's going through her social media feed. So, but don't tell her about that secret. That's our secret. Okay. We're going to keep it between us. You want to consider function and quality, include that in your budget. And then, of course, as Brother Jim mentioned, and we're going to talk about that here in our next slide, and that is, of course, knowing how to research. And you're researching both the product and the brand. Why is it important to research the brand? Because so many companies are just popping up out of nowhere today that they may not be a reputable company. They could be, the worst case scenario, a scammer who's just there to create this product or ad for this product to drive you to purchase it. And then you're never going to get the product, or what you're getting is far, far less quality than what it is that you thought you were buying. And that's why researching a brand is just as important as researching a product, especially on social media. I know that on Instagram, there are a lot of these fake companies that go out of their way to even make themselves look like the legitimate company selling something. But then when you click on it, you kind of notice almost immediately that it's not very professionally done. When you get to the shopping cart section, you notice that there's anything, and I think this is probably a rule of thumb. If you are having any doubts in the purchase process, then you should really, really take a pause, as Brother Jim suggested, and do your research, right? Because now you can do research so many different ways. You've got online research, right? Obviously through Google and through the YouTube videos that you can run through. I mean, I don't know, some of the strangest things that you've like tried to do a review for, Brother Jim. There's literally not a product. I don't care how minuscule or how it just seems like something that nobody would buy. There's a review for it, right?
Oh yeah, and it's great. We kind of live in this golden age of information where when it comes to consumer goods, because there's so many of the people I enjoy listening to on YouTube. I'm an avid gardener. There's a few gardeners I really like to listen to, and it's great that they'll include products and things like that. When I was really into farming, I would read a lot of different books and by farmers. People who are in the business to do something, they have to have products that work. Otherwise, they'll be out of business. So, I really trust people who have recommendations if that's their business. If you want to ask somebody what tree to plant, ask somebody who has an orchard. They're going to give you the best advice. But having that access now is so easy with, like you said, on YouTube and other types of social media.
Oh, that's a great example again, Brother Jim, making sure that the people that you are doing these reviews from are people that actually well, I mean, I guess there's different ways of doing it, right? They have these like really popular videos out there, Sister Audrey, you may have seen. They call them unboxing videos, which are basically just people who make a purchase with no idea. They've never even used the product yet, but it's really just more of an enticement on seeing what the experience is like, right? Is that more what that is?
Oh yes, and then sometimes like if you're that kind of shopper who I may or may not be talking about myself, but just enjoys the unwrapping and opening. It's almost like being granted a it's that experience of being able to something and it's new and it's ready for you. So it's almost it's that sensation when you're watching someone else do it, you kind of get that thrill out of it too.
Right. And but keep in mind that those types of reviews aren't necessarily going to give you the insight about what the product's quality is like, what the experience is like when you're using it. That's why a lot more of these in-depth reviews are so important, right? But that's again what drives a lot of those algorithms is like if the the YouTube, for example, senses that you're clicking and researching these specific types of videos, I guarantee you that a lot of that stuff is going to start getting fed into your social media. So again, being very cautious about that. So,
That is
online
so
research
so
is
true,
super
Brother
important.
Robert. Yeah, that research is definitely important. We even have some of our viewers who are chiming in on the chat who are, sharing some of their ways that they research. We have Winged Nike Pub. She was saying that what she does is what if she this is what she asks herself. I usually ask if I really want it. Do I have room at a home for it? And will I still want it a month from now? Those are some really good questions to ask because sometimes, we make like what we mentioned earlier, those impulse buys, and then it kind of just sits there. Or sometimes it stays in the box, right? Right by the front door. It's like, ooh, is that the home that I really intended it for? We also have Brother Michael De Jesus. He says buying quality things that can last, not just last in the box by the front door in the original packaging, right? I mean, just see if it's quality things that can last, that can help save from buying more and more time and time and time again. These are really, really good. And we love hearing
Great
from all of you.
suggestions. Absolutely. Thank you, Sister Joy, for calling those out. Brother Michael De Jesus is actually coming to us from the district of Micronesia. So, again, our international show that we've got here. And then, of course, Sister Jen Trinidad, who got up really early this morning to hop on our show. She's there in Long Beach, California. Thank you for waking up this early to join us on INCRadio Florida, Sister Jen. Hope you have your coffee or your tea with you. So, going back to the researching part, when we look at expert opinions, right, we tend to, as Brother Jim says, if he's looking for farming equipment, he's going to go to people who he knows are farmers, legit farmers, right? You're not going to go to an auto mechanic who's doing a farming video on compost, or maybe they do know about it, but you want to make sure that you're going towards a reputable source for topics that they actually are subject matter experts, or what we call SMEs, in that product, right? Because they can give you the in-depth, not only their opinion, but really researched based. So you want subject matter experts to be the ones that you do the research with. And then customer feedback, super important because you and I are all consumers, right? We want to hear from other consumers. You don't want it to just be from those experts that are out there, because one of the things, and it's the third bullet actually here, it's about the credibility of a lot of these reviewers, because going viral on social media because you're reviewing a product that's sponsored by a company or by a brand is so popular today, because that's the way a lot of these YouTubers and influencers are making their money. You want to be sure that you're giving yourself an opportunity to hear both sides of everything, right? So don't only look for good reviews when you're doing customer feedback reviews or opinions. Also seek out bad reviews, because you want to find out what are the things that people complain about with this product, because it could be a similar experience to yours. And I believe that there's probably just as many bad reviews out there as there are good reviews on most products. Wouldn't you say, Brother Jim?
Definitely. And like you said, seeing those bad reviews, you can see how it might apply to you. Maybe you live in a rural area and it's the product doesn't get delivered. You know that that's probably I better just go to the store and get this product. I live in an area it's probably not going to get delivered to. I know there's a lot of people who have different climates, right? You might be buying something, kind of going back to the plants and things like that. You think, wow, I'd love to have mangoes all the time, but hey, you live in Ohio. Or there's a lot of everybody who has, they're trying to sell something, so they're going to present things in the best light. So listening to those comments, you're going to find those comments that might apply to you, and that's a huge help.
That is a great point, Brother Jim, about understanding what you're buying and where it's being shipped to. Because we live here in Florida, right? And if you're interested in buying these super decadent chocolates and having them shipped to you in the middle of June or July, and then having it arrive and sit on your doorstep when it's 100% humidity outside, maybe not the best purchase decision, right? So, again, those are things that you've got to consider about being a good consumer, is, finding out if that brand, and they'll talk about that actually in the reviews. We've bought stuff like that, perishable items before, and the reviews said, oh, it arrived, it was in a refrigerated box, and it was sitting on my doorstep all afternoon, and the food or whatever the item was just as fresh as if I'd purchased it in the store. And I don't know if you guys have also noticed, so many retailers now are also letting you make these purchases online that you can then go to the store to pick up. And it's
Pick
all
up.
about
And
can
yeah, and sometimes the return policy on that is so much more friendly when you do it that way because it gives you the flexibility to not have to pay for the shipping cost if the store that you're returning it at will do it all for you. So if you're like me and you're excited and you rip open that box, don't worry. Returnable because this grocery store will package it for you.
That's funny that you say that, because how many of us here, and I know that we're not on the so I'm going to ask for a raise of hands, but I'm going to count it out. How many of us here actually make a purchase decision with like a 50% notion that we know we're only making the decision because it's so easy to return it? Show of
I
hands.
feel so seen with that question.
I,
I feel like you're directing that to me.
because
my
you're
inner thoughts
thinking I
were
could.
revealed.
What was that, Sister Audrey?
Oh no, my inner thoughts were revealed.
Yeah, I could.
Fashionista, right? I know that Sister Audrey, because I've had the friends like that, and I had a good friend, and I think her poor mailman, I think delivered at least 4 pairs of shoes a week to this lady because she loved that easy return, and she just wanted to try it on, and but yeah, I think clothing is.
Do you guys look at that return policy before purchasing? Am I just in a
Absolutely.
category here?
Absolutely,
it,
because
it
if the return policy is good and you can wear it for a week and look great and it's in good condition, return it back. You got the photos out of it.
well, I mean, but also keep in mind that a lot of these stores know that that's what people do, right? So when they're shopping, they know. So there are online retailers now that have this feature called the try before you buy, right? Have you guys seen that? Where you can actually purchase an item and they know that you're more than likely going to return it if you don't like it. So it's, I think it's like 7 days. So you can purchase it and no questions asked. You don't have to pay for it up front. They send it to you. You can try it out for 7 days. Make sure that it fits. Make sure it's exactly the style, the color. It looks the way you want. And if you don't want it, they allow you to just put it back in the box, ship it back, and there's no harm, no foul. And a lot of these returns, and we talked about this earlier in the show, actually before we started, that there are these companies now, and many cities have them, where you are able to go in and buy these returns that are in perfectly good condition. Maybe they're open boxes, maybe they're things that the company didn't want to have to deal with the return, and you get them at a fraction. And I'm talking 80% often of the cost of what that item originally was, and it's still brand new. You should, so our viewers that are out there, especially those that are here in the US, there are many companies that do that, where you can go in and it's something like you can buy everything in the stores all priced at $10 or $12. And a lot of these items are either items that were returned or they were open boxes that they can't sell through their normal retail. So that's another shopping tip for you from INCRadio Florida. But making sure
I
that
love
you
that.
evaluate.
Do you know what the return policy is for the returns?
Oh, I
I'm
think
asking for a friend.
I think for these purchases, these are kind of like one and done, Sister Joy. So I
Okay, I'll let
I think
my
the
friend
buck
know.
stops here. Let your friend know that this is where the buck stops. So making sure that you evaluate the credibility of your sources. We already talked about that. You don't want to get stuck into this cycle of always going to the same people who always say the same thing, because a lot of these influencers that are out there selling these brands are people that are often sponsored. And you need to know whether or not they're sponsored by these companies, because then, of course, that creates a biased opinion. And that's why we want to avoid biased opinions. So this way, as a consumer, you're able to make a purchase based on what is important. And then, of course, last but not least, comparison shop. It's so easy to compare. Again, this is a great way to avoid impulse buying. Aside from just waiting, while you're waiting, compare. Look at other places that sell the similar item. Look at the similar features that might be there. It's so easy that even if it was something that you had physically in front of you, you can take a picture of it today. I know through, like, I think it's Google Lens that allows you to take a picture of something and it'll actually find that item somewhere out on the web and tell you how much it's being sold for somewhere else. So
Yeah,
you can,
it
is that
is staggers the imagination now when you compare, the comparison shopping. I'll go through 5 different sites, and almost the exact same item can be 20 to 30% off. And it's something, it's like how they buy or what that store, tends to do. But I'm always amazed at the difference and how so much, one particular site can be so much better than another site, and it's the same product. It's just, it, we're,
it's mind boggling.
yeah,
So one of the things that I think we also are all guilty of is making sure that you set a budget for whatever it is that you're purchasing, right? Set that budget. You know how much it is that you want to spend, or you know how much it is that you have to spend. And then all of a sudden you're ready to make the purchase because you found the item that's within the price point that you want. But then all of a sudden things get tacked on top of it. Well, you need to have this accessory, or you need to have this addition. Don't forget that extended warranty. And it's always a matter of adding more to that purchase. And then next thing you know, your purchase that you had set under budget now is ballooned to 10 to 20% above what you thought you were going to pay. And then that's when buyer's remorse kicks in. And it's not remorse at the purchase, right? It's a remorse at how much you paid for it. Brother Jim, you
yeah.
ever?
You say that they've actually done some studies, and I happen to be, because I listened to Sister Joy. She was saying about buyer's remorse, but there's two schools, right? Where there's these people who, they need more and more data before every purchase. They just get lots of data, and then there's people who are like, I'm waiting on the bus. Hey, I think I'll buy a new exercise bike, and you just buy it. And it turns out they've actually done studies on this, that, those different types of people, and of course, budget is important and things like that. But the amount of remorse tends to be about the same. So you don't, there's just some people whose nature, and I say that if you're with a person, I think my wife endures me as being a little bit more of an impulse buyer, and maybe part of this conversation is me defending myself, but but I really feel like, but there's, the studies are true. It's just, certainly take your time, but you can get into data overload, and there's so much information out there, that it is, if I need it, get it, be happy. We're blessed that we can get the things that we can get. And that's,
Right.
something to take comfort in that, right?
Exactly. And remorse is like regret, right? And people who've known me for years know that I always say that regret is a wasted emotion, right? Because it's already done. So remorse is the same thing. You've already purchased it. Unless they have that fabulous return policy that we were all talking about. But if you've got it, you purchased it, make the best out of it. But that's why it's so important to make an informed decision, so that way you can avoid having those feelings. So, well, that was a great topic. Hopefully everyone was able to benefit from a few of those nuggets. But before we go on, we're going to go ahead and go into our quick CFO in action. Sister Joy, what's going on here in the District of Florida?
We always love to talk about what's going on here because it's always such an incredible event here in the District of Florida. We have upcoming activities like our firefighter appreciation. For those of you who are not listening that are abroad, our firefighters are those that respond, our first responders. So this is such an important activity that involves all the CFO, the Christian family organizations, to come out and appreciate those that help in our community. We also have upcoming CWS activities that will be on a weekly basis. And for those of you again who are listening, our CWS are our youth members. This is like starting from 4 years old in the children's worship service group. These are our members from 4 years old, and they're going to be having weekly activities that are in the AEVM, the arts, education, values formation, and music. So these are going to enhance these things, and our youth are going to be focusing on that. So it's really exciting. We also still have our Friday youth missions, and this is for all of our youth. And guess what? Even our parents are getting involved, and this involves things like painting and music and arts, and just things where a lot of the Christian camaraderie can get together. So really exciting things. We're so proud of our youth. So if you haven't yet, come join us for these activities. We'd love to have you. I'm going to pass it on to Sister Audrey. Why don't you tell us how we can stay connected?
Yes, of course. And with INCRadio time slot, we want you to still stay engaged with us. So please continue to join us every Saturday morning here at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can join us and stay connected via www.iglesianicristo.net/INCRadio, or come here on YouTube where many of you are chatting with us. Search INCRadio, click on live now, or you can also download the official INCRadio mobile app for Android and iOS devices. Of course, we want to also extend our warm greetings to our beloved Executive Minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, our Subsea CEO and CFO Coordinator, Brother Angelo Arano Manalo, our Executive Producer, Brother Manley and Daya, and then here on the home front of Florida, our District Minister, Brother Marlon Balason, our Assistant District Minister, Brother Carlitos Medina, and our CFO Overseer, Brother Mark Bernal. Thank you so much for all joining us on INCRadio Florida.
All right. Thank you so much, Sister Audrey. And, I used to say we're at the bottom of the hour, but now on the new time slot, we're actually at the top of the hour for us because we're on from 9:30 in the morning until around 10 a.m., with a little bit of overage here. And, of course, we want you to stay tuned because coming up next are our friends there at INCRadio South Central States, Brother Nathan and Sister Arnie. So please stay tuned for their program that's coming up right after us. But for now, this is Brother Robert here in Tampa, Florida. For Brother, my screen went blank here for a second. Oh, there he is. Brother Jim up there in Pensacola. Sister Joy there in Orlando. And for Sister Audrey, who's also here in Tampa, we wish you a very happy Saturday morning. And please join us again next week here on INCRadio Florida.